Music. Who doesn't love music? It's the art form that, depending on the form, moves the soul, moves the heart, or moves that ass. I love music. I love all kinds of music. I love country, pop, rap, drill rap, Matty B raps.
I wish love would be a drug.
But according to the internet, there is a genre of music so offensive that it needs to be derided at all possible opportunities. And that is coworker music. Mark, I don't spend half my time on TikTok. What is coworker music? I will tell you, dear viewer. In simplest terms, coworker music is popular, often mainstream music that a coworker might share with you, even if it's not particularly sophisticated. It's the kind of music that you would hear over the blinding lights of your local grocery store or TJ Maxx. It's what your coworker, who for some reason you see as a completely blank slate with no inner life whatsoever, plays for you in the car on their way to dropping you off at home.
I never understood the whole pronoun thing or why people think it was okay to push them.
Everyone's got their own definition of coworker music, but imagine stuff like Imagine Dragons, Maroon 5, maybe Coldplay, songs like Uptown Funk, Watermelon Sugar, a bar song.
Good Lord, someone tell me about that.
And look, as a self-appointed hater, I get it. This is the corollary to when your coworker or 6-year-old cousin shows you a funny YouTube video, and now you're forced to sit there in awkward silence for 12 minutes as their phone physically holds you hostage. It's no different than being kidnapped by the Taliban, except of course the Taliban probably has something better than Jelly Roll on Ox. Now to be clear, I don't mind Jelly Roll. He actually seems like a good guy. He has some good songs. And I guess that's what I want to talk about today, which is that it's okay to poke fun at artists that we don't particularly like. But the whole conversation around coworker music just really reminds me of everything I dislike about the internet. Is it mostly people being harmless? Yes, I'm not saying we should indict people for making memes about Imagine Dragons. However, there is this aspect of it of essentially policing authenticity, which does get darker. And policing authenticity is something we've become obsessed with. You see, the concept of coworker music is just a rebrand of NPC music. And if you don't know what an NPC is, it's a non-playable character, or the people who you run over with your car in GTA. If a 15-year-old ever calls you an NPC, it means that they think you have no critical thinking, no original thoughts, no individuality. And it's what the scumbags of the internet use as justification for treating service workers like or pulling pranks on people, or just otherwise making strangers feel uncomfortable. Because for many of these wayward youths, they genuinely don't see people as people. Main character syndrome has been discussed at length on the internet, but genuinely there's a pandemic of young people who would be shocked to learn that they are not in fact the most interesting people on the face of the planet. Like the influencers getting called out for weirdly dragging strangers into their content, or calling out passerbyers for staring at them while they're doing objectively weird shit. But you know what? Narcissism on the internet is like air. It provides life for the endless stream of hot takes, drama, and apologies that make up the content that keeps you entertained. And I'm not blaming you for that, or us, but just accepting the fact that balance and nuance don't get you clicks, but calling Benson Boon the Antichrist for making boring music does. Yes, Benson Boon, that guy who had that one song and dressed up like Freddie Mercury at Coachella. Some people even call him a Freddie Mercury or a Queen clone. Other people just call him bland. Incredibly bland.
Taking off your blue jeans, dancing at the movies,
And here's the thing, I don't disagree that Benson Boon makes incredibly derivative, bland music. But here's the other thing. I don't have to listen to Benson Boon. Is someone holding a gun to my head, forcing me to listen to beautiful things? No, there is not. Which is why the internet's unique obsession with hating this man, even as a hater myself, feels incredibly uncouth. Have you ever even been inside the home of a single man? You're lucky he even has a kitchen, and not just a microwave with a 6-pack of Bud Light and a stack of Hustler magazines. Like, this is where we're at. Hating on an artist you don't like, kitchen decor. And here we get to the authenticity policing, because the most repeated line of hate against him is that he's inauthentic. Which is a completely meaningless accusation, of course, because there's no way to know if he's being authentic or not, but that's the vibe people are getting, and they are not being quiet about it. This man literally had to put out a TikTok asking people to explain why they hate him so much, because he was straight up confused. And I understand his confusion, because even though I get why people don't like him, how is he supposed to get why you don't like him? He's making music that resonates with him, and clearly music that resonates, for some reason, with millions of people. And yet for every fan he has 10 people on TikTok genuinely wishing his vocal cords give out. And you know what? I'm siding with Benson Boon. Because even though he has the vibe of a Mormon youth pastor, but the hate towards him literally boils down to, I think the people who listen to this music aren't even people. Let's call it what it is, which is a comical level of hatred towards quote-unquote normies, as if your FKA Twigs playlist makes you some musical god. I mean, they caught Steph Curry at a Benson Boon concert and are acting like those 4 rings don't even count anymore.
And not only was Steph Curry jamming out to Benson Boon, he went to the pit and he sung along loud and proud. And you can see he knows all the lyrics.
Oh my God.
And I lost some respect for Steph Curry.
I lost some respect for Steph Curry. Yeah, dude, how many championships do you got? How many rings you got? Again, it's just always the most painfully average people who are the ones convinced that they're so special and unique. It's a self-report, it's insecurity. You're so scared of the fact that you are, as it turns out, just one of 7 billion people on this planet, so you're desperately grasping at being a 0.5% top listener to Mitski on Spotify as the thing that makes you truly special, unique, and alive. And let's be real, how many people out here are probably genuinely listening to 1 or 2 artists or a specific genre specifically so that they can show up at the end of the year on their Spotify Wrapped, so everyone can see how mysterious and underground their taste is? People hating on Benson Boon for being performative when it's really all the haters who are putting on the performance. They're the ones putting on an act so that way they can feel different than their Maroon 5 listening coworkers. Here's another example, Brendan Abernathy. You've probably heard this one before, but here's the clip of his original song that went bonkers viral.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. And I'll be dancing on California. Kid who got it all wrong.
And again, look, I agree. It's a terrible day to have ears. It's a terrible day to have ears, I'm not gonna lie. I would rather listen to the sounds of a wood chipper for 3 minutes than listen to the full version of the song. A wood chipper that's chewing through Brendan Abernathy's entire discography, to be clear. But on the other hand, if I wasn't making this video to illustrate my point, I would just shut the f*** up. I mean, the entire comment section of the song, people acting like he just farted into a microphone for 30 seconds. And again, what's hilarious, rules of the internet, the more people engage with it, the farther it gets pushed. Again, it's a terrible song, don't get me wrong, but 20 years ago, this thing would have just died the minute a record label executive heard it. We live in a time now when anybody can put themselves out there. And you would assume, given the volume of content out there, that we would be, less judgmental, if literally for no other reason than who has time to sift through all the bad content out there. But no, as a matter of fact, entire communities now exist out there for shitting on specific artists, influencers, whoever. And again, I'm not saying that some people don't deserve to be criticized sometimes, but if we're being honest, it's usually disproportionate. Listen, I used to be a hater of Taylor Swift. I thought she was basic, I thought her music was bland, she sucked, and that girls have cooties anyway. And then something crazy happened. I turned 13, and I realized that not every piece of art has to be for me. If it's not harming anybody, I'll just not listen to it. If Brendan Abernathy comes up on my feed, I'll just keep scrolling. But hating equals views, which equals money, which is why the internet feels so toxic. Because now we're fully grown adults out here acting like 12-year-olds hating on Taylor Swift. The entire internet has become a performance, and it's inescapable. Just think about Instagram in 2012 versus how aesthetic it is today. Think about just the rise of aesthetics in general. Fashion bros and clean girls and all this other bullshit. It absolutely has the same effect on discourse. Just like people signal who they are with their dress, or by going to Pilates, people signal that they're cooling in by hating on pop stars that nobody else likes. Like, there are probably people who recoiled at the beginning of this video when I mentioned that I listen to country music. And I don't just like country music, I love it. I think it's great. And what's even better, it's just one part of all the music I listen to. I love shuffling all my music at once and getting whiplash from Luke Combs to Angèle to sea shanties.
Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum.
It's fun, but for the internet, everyone has to fit tightly into a box. If someone listens to Taylor Swift, it's because they're dead inside and must not listen to anything else. And here's another thought on Coworker music. Could it be that some people just don't care about music as much as you do? Could it be just like how most people's conceptions of paintings are just like the Mona Lisa and Starry Night, that some people just aren't that into it? They just listen to whatever's on the radio? Does that mean that the Mona Lisa and Starry Night are now paintings? What I'm saying is, Benson Boon is the Mona Lisa of music. Or how about this? Have any of these people ever considered that when you're interacting with someone on the level of a coworker, that they're just going to give you the tip of their iceberg of their music tastes? That your coworker is purposefully going to play something that they know is popular just to try to appeal to the lowest common denominator? But no, I guess y'all really want Bill from accounting to throw on his Mommy Comforts You ASMR right out of the gate. Would that be original enough for you? Or how about this? Instead of complaining about coworker music on the internet, or cringily admitting that you just discovered that your coworker actually does have a rich inner life and music taste, why don't you take this opportunity to put your coworker onto some good shit? Let's see what you've got. We are living in a time where Spotify is rolling out AI-generated playlists filled with AI-generated music, and they're not telling you. You've probably already listened to an AI-generated song on Spotify without knowing it. In a couple years, music is gonna be saturated with AI-generated slop, and we're going to be begging Brendan Abernathy to hold us hostage with his guitar. You're not gonna be able to relate to every person on the internet, but at least people are trying. People grind for years to be recognized for their art, for their music, for their content. Others grind even longer and never get recognized. But that grinding is cringe now. The very state of being seen trying is considered inauthentic in itself. It's not enough to be successful, you have to be effortlessly successful. As if the aesthetic of your favorite artist is something that spontaneously existed, rather than something that was part of a carefully thought out business plan. Don't lie to yourself, Benson Boon's Freddie Mercury thing is inauthentic in the same way that Addison Rae flopping around stage in her drawers is inauthentic. Do you think Chappell Roan would show up looking like that if she worked at Hertz Rent-A-Car? A concert is literally a performance art, and I do think this obsession with authenticity genuinely makes the world a worse place. Because instead of letting people do their thing and then judging the thing that they create, we're now policing intentions. And unless somebody has a mind-reading device, how do you judge intentions? Benson Boon doesn't really love Freddie Mercury that much. Well, should we waterboard him to find out? This is why I maintain, and everyone's always mean to me about it, but I don't care how authentic influencers are, or celebrities, or politicians. You know somebody by their actions. I judge an artist by their music. If it's not for me, I move on. I don't need a 60,000 word think piece on how another artist is better, or how they're actually stealing from this person. I don't care. I don't care if an influencer put on their story about the ICE raids in LA. Did they ever speak up before then? No. So they're just doing it because they're getting bullied into doing it. I don't care what Khloe Kardashian thinks about ICE. She sells bullshit to people on the internet based on insecurity. I don't care that JD Vance went on Theo Von and talked about how he and Donald Trump care so much about peace, while their administration is actively greenlighting a war with Iran and prolonging a war in Ukraine by playing footsie with Vladimir Putin. Actions matter. Judge people by what they do, not what they say. Words are cheap, and with social media, they're somehow getting even cheaper. And I know what you're thinking. Dude, how did we get from Benson Boon to the war in Ukraine? I'm just that good. That's the answer. But I'm not kidding. I just like the internet has increasingly made itself a reality TV show, and it's concerning to me. Not just multimillionaire pop stars, we also expect brands to act like they're our friend. The need for authenticity has made everything more inauthentic. Like, I don't need snarky tweets from my fast food restaurant. Put the fries in the bag, b****. Speaking of Trump, the Department of Homeland Security is putting out memes about deporting people. And yeah, natural conclusion of this hyper-authentic social media time that we're living in. My government is now using my tax dollars to post about breaking up families. My government should be boring. My corporations should not be acting like they know me on social media. And my coworker, I don't need him to be into super alternative Chadcore metal for me to see him as a person. We don't need to get to know each other through shared music taste. We can get to know each other the old-fashioned way, by getting way too drunk at happy hour. Social conventions exist for a reason. That's all I'm saying. As long as you exist in a society, you're probably performing for someone. It's okay to put on a little bit of an act at work. It's okay to put on a little bit of an act for Instagram or TikTok, just like it's okay for Tate McRae to put on an act for her show. We're overreacting to performers putting on performances. Shocker, I know. While underreacting to politicians straight up lying to your face. And maybe they're unrelated. And maybe I need to stop browsing TikTok while watching the news. But truly, the juxtaposition of seeing what's going on in the world and looking down at my phone and seeing TikTok malding about Benson Boon's backflip, yeah, maybe it did get to me a little bit this week. But maybe you could tell that. Could you imagine if TikTok had the same energy for ExxonMobil as it did for Coworker music? Could you imagine? That's all I'm saying. The only endangered animal TikTok cares about is Benson Boon's mustache. My point is, I just want to go back to a world where things actually matter, where not everything is just considered entertainment when real people are involved, when we don't shit all over strangers on the internet just because they made something that we personally don't like, and instead go back to a world where we're actually focused on shitting on the real villains, the polluters, the politicians, the something else that starts with a P. There's no shortage of scumbags with actual power. It's truly incredible that we thought social media would bring us all closer together, and now it's literally just turned grown adults into perpetual middle schoolers. But I digress. I've got to go catch a flight. I'm actually going to a wedding. Should be pretty lit. And thankfully, I already know what song I'm going to ask the DJ to play.
Please stop.